Happy Friday, team. Welcome back. This is the end of the week, and we're going to have one more live session. Very excited today. We have Scott Pulcini back with us. We're going to talk about Bookmap integration. We're going to talk about MenthorQ levels on Bookmap. Welcome, Scott, and welcome, Patrick.
How's it going, Fabio? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, amazing. And last session we did with you was awesome. So we want to repeat that. We're going to look at some exciting example, maybe even some live trading for the audience. So that should be very fun. Let me start with a disclaimer before we go into the presentation. All right, and before I pass it on to you, Scott, and maybe you can also give like another introduction for those who were not part of the previous one. Today, we're going to demonstrate the power of having the MenthorQ levels into Bookmap, so leveraging the power of Bookmap together with options data. And for those who are part of our premium membership, you can actually access all our integrations within the dashboard. So what we're going to show you today is one of the integration that we have. So if we click on our dashboard right here, you can find all the integration that we cover. We're going to focus today on Bookmap, and Scott is going to show us how to use the levels within Bookmap. So Scott, without further ado, I'll pass it on to you.
Thanks, Fabio. Okay, so number actually just came out here. So for those of you that don't know me, I've been a trader for 25 years-ish, and used to be a multi-million-dollar scalper, and then that disappeared in mid-2000s, and then I spent another, 7 years trying to reinvent my style to, be elite again, and I just never can figure anything out. As far as the best I was a break-even trader. So had to leave the business 2013. 2017-18, Dr. Brett Steenbarger, who is a trading psychologist, probably one of the top trading psychologists in the world. He called me. He's written a bunch of trading books. I'm in one of them, Enhancing Trader Performance. But he sat behind me for a year and watched me trade, and he knew like my style. And he called me one day in 2018. Again, I wasn't even trading at that point, or 2017, and he told me about this software Bookmap that it reminded him of how I used to trade, how I used to view the market action. So the minute I saw Bookmap, I knew I was back, or at least I had some kind of quantifiable edge. And then so I started doing webinars for them for a few years. And I already thought before this stop iceberg information, just to be able to see the liquidity on the heat map. So all liquidity is just basically you're seeing the resting orders in a different view, right? So these resting orders here, these dark orange are just relatively heavier orders in the order book. So very important just to see that stuff. And then they came out with this stop iceberg information. The CME released this right around 2018 as well. It's enhanced data that shows with 100% certainty if you can disseminate the information, that is where these stop runs and these icebergs are in the market. And they're very, very, very important to the core of my trading, because volume runs the show. Again, I don't care what lines you have in your chart. We're going to look at a lot of lines today with MenthorQ, but volume is what controls things. So if you can understand these volume areas, and these volume areas are basically just areas that there's concentrated traders, placing bets, if for lack of a better word. And when the market moves away from these areas, that's where the advantage is, right? Because someone's right, someone's wrong. Whoever's wrong has to get out of the trade, and that propels these markets away from these areas. And also, the markets come back to these areas with ridiculous regularity. So we'll look at that probably 20 times on this webinar alone, and we have trades for that as well. So I have position trades where I'll take trades based on, again, heavy volume areas. This was a buy stop run right into this gamma wall, by the way, that did hold short as of right now. But then again, and then, so I'll have trades for that, position trades. And then I have trades, we call them reversion trades, where you play for a move back to the zone. So developer in my trade room actually came up with a method to draw this information on the sub chart. And I'm sorry for all the talking in the back, but I'm watching 15 products. So it's going to announce every time there's a zone or there's a volume event. So bear with me on that. Anyway, he figured out a way to draw this information onto the heat map. And then we have all, I have a system based on how, when the market moves away from these areas, whether, that's when I get in trades on most of them, except for one, and I'll show you that, or a couple of them, or they're auto entries right in the middle. But I usually will wait for an ATR out of the zone to take my trades. But the other things this zone drawing tool showing are these reversion areas. So you can see these dotted lines. This is the one ATR. So this is a 5-minute ATR, and you can see it right down here. So right now the ATR in NASDAQ is 21, almost 22. So it means it's rotating about 22 points every 5 minutes. Very, very, very important to know the volatility of the day, right? So all you static traders out there that even trade NASDAQ, I love to risk 10 points and to make 20. Well, that's great when the ATR is, normal, but on days the ATR, and we've seen a few of these this year already, the ATR is 45, 50, 55. Good luck risking 10 points. You are going to get whipsawed out of almost every trade you put on. So it's very, very important to know the average true range so you can gauge the volatility. And that is the fundamental basis of how I get into trades and where we take these reversions. So these dotted lines here are reversion trade, or the 5 minute, 1 ATR, the 2 ATR, the 3 ATR. So again, these markets will hit these areas and come back to the volume event it's just insanity. I'm going to show you again, probably 20 of them on this webinar alone. So this stuff is a powerful edge in its own right. And then when you start to, over these last couple of years, and again, I wish I knew this information back when I was making millions of dollars, because I would have made many, many, many more millions of dollars understanding this options flow and where these huge options levels are, knowing that dealers have to hedge in these areas, right? So it's not a guess whether dealers are going to be at these areas hedging their options positions. They have to hedge. They're not directional traders. They have to hedge. It's just whether or not they are going to affect the market with their hedging at that point in time. So what I tell my traders in my trade room, 85 or more % of the time, the only thing in here, the only entities in here are the algos, and you can see the algos on this heat map, right? When a market looks like a Christmas tree, that's algos just putting in orders and pulling them. So they're in here to take your money, basically, right? And people, for some reason, don't want to believe that. This is a zero-sum game. Somebody's winning, somebody's losing. These algos are in here whipsawing, and you can see this algo right here. It's just putting in bids, pulling offers, putting in bids, pulling offers, and then putting in offers, pulling bids. So 85 to 90% of the time, this is the activity in here. So it's this and dealer hedging, right? So 15% of the time is just a rough guess. The big money comes in, right? So these big funds, big houses come in and they got to get their business done, and that's when you'll see like these levels not hold, or they'll rip right through it. But again, if you were just to play them blindly every time, 85% of the time they work great. But you just got to be cognizant of the fact that they work until they don't work, and when the big money needs to come in here and get their stuff done, you got to be careful. Is what I'm getting at. And I'll show you an example from today. So I have two different distinct trades with these MenthorQ levels that have been absolutely incredible. They're brand new strategies. So in my trade room, I have all these different strategies, as you can see here, right? So I have position trading strategies. And then, so the newest ones are are based off MenthorQ levels. One's an auto fade strategy. So again, like I was saying before, for most of my trading activity, I wait for the market to move out of, because I don't know what this event is. Yes, I see it's a lot of sell ice, right? So somebody in here was selling heavily. For those of you that don't know what icebergs are just hidden orders in the order book, right? Because the big money, if they come in here and someone comes, so for instance, this was like, let's see how much this was. When you add all this up, that was 1,000 alone. That was 500. This was another, 3. So this is almost 2,000 sell ice. If a big house comes in here right now, I mean, look at this order book. It's basically 100 lots, right? If a big house comes in here right now and drops a 2,000 lot in the order book as a limit order to sell, these algos right here will run the market away from that order. They're trying to get this entity to chase the order. It's a big game, right? And then this guy, because a lot of times this big money, these houses, these funds, they need to get their orders done, right? So they will chase the market because they got to get the position on or get out of the position because they're such a big position, right? So they are not a lot of times price sensitive, and these algos know it. So if they were to put a 2,000 lot in here, these algos run it away, trying to make this entity chase it, and then this entity chases it, and the algos just snap it right back up. So they're buying, right? So they're pushing the market down, and they have all their buy orders down. This is the game I used to play. We'll get into this, but these algos have their buy orders in the order book. This is what this is. So when entity puts in 2,000 lot, say, they'll yank their bids, and then they'll come down, and then they'll put some more bids in down here. They'll get filled. This guy has to chase down to get out, to sell, and then it'll turn around and come right back. So again, that's kind of a detail that you don't really even need to know about. But the point is, with icebergs, all they have to show is a certain percentage of their order, and I think it's right around 10%. So if they have 2,000 to sell, all they have to show in the order book is 200. When the market comes in and trades into that 200, and then they get a nice surprise, there's another 1,800 behind that order, right? So that's what icebergs are, and that's how the big money hides their orders. So it behooves you to know where this big money is playing. Very, very, very important. Well, and there was just an event in NQ. I want to make sure I'm not missing trades here. So we just had sell stop run. So most of the time, sell stops are retail trader puking, right? So by default, it's usually a fade type of move because it's not initiative selling, right? It's not like big money's in here unloading. It's just retail traders puke, and you can see this one's already reversing, right? So very important to know whether it's retail traders puking or it's the big money with icebergs, right? So that, again, this is the core of my trading. So what I'm doing here with these MenthorQ levels with these newer trades is I'm taking, I'm looking for volume events, SI volume events, stop iceberg volume events at these GEX levels to either take a sexy GEXy, I call it, because they're very sexy. And then when they don't work, we call them grandma GEXy. So no offense to grandmas out there. I'm actually almost a grandpa, so grandpa age anyway. So we call it a sexy GEXy. This is this trading strategy, right? So take a fade trade into a spot gamma, MenthorQ gamma level. Trade is taken immediately when an opposing SI event fires off. So the market's moving higher with a buy stop or sell icebergs. And that was what was going on here in ES earlier. And I'll go over why this lost, because I took this one. I just couldn't help myself, and I knew better. And we'll go over this. And it's a good way to show you guys which ones don't work too, and where you want to be very careful taking these when the big money's in here, so on and so forth. I'll get into that. And then or a sell stop into these method levels coming from, and that's what we just saw here in NASDAQ. It actually didn't get down to a MenthorQ level yet. So what the trade is so say the market's come down, say the stop run happened at these GEX levels, and it still may. I would take an immediate fade trade, and this is an auto entry, meaning the minute I hear the event, I'm getting in the trade. So if this comes down here one more time and we get another stop run, sell stop run into this GEX 1 and blind level 3 or blind spot 3, I'm jumping in the trade immediately. Again, most of my trades, I wait for an ATR plus to get in the trade. These trades, and that makes it a great risk reward trade, right? Because I'm getting in right here, and then you can see these yellow lines. If I get in here, this is my stop, and this is all part of the zone drawing tool. This is all based on the ATR, right? So when I get in trades, most of the time, I force the market to push more than an ATR out to confirm that, whether it's bullish or bearish, right? With the GEXs, I'm jumping in it right away, but I'm using the same traditional stop. So instead of getting in here as a long, if it was a position trade, I'm risking from there to there. With these GEXs, I'm getting in here and only risking to there. So it's a very good risk reward trade. And I'm willing to do that because for two different reasons. One, I know that dealers are hedging at these levels, right? They have to hedge. And the GEX 1 is the top, is the heaviest GEX gamma level on the board. Right. So there's going to be some dealer hedging here. So you're going to get a reaction, meaning they're going to be in here buying to hedge themselves. Right. Again, it's not always going to react, especially if big money's in here and may run right through here. And we'll show examples of that. But the point is I jump in right away. And then the way I'm trading these right now, because I am looking, and this hasn't happened yet. We may get one more down here and I will take this trade. It actually happened up here, right? So I got out of this because the number was coming out, and of course it worked. But this was a buy stop run into the gamma wall, right? So I jumped in right in the middle here. You can actually see the order, and into the number. I'm like, I kind of chickened out of this. I didn't chicken out. I shouldn't be trading. So a good example was I did the same thing in the S, and I took a loss on it. So that's why this is bad trading, right? It's like you don't. This is random trading, right? So this one I took. And this was right at the open. First of all, you don't want to be taking trades right in the open because stocks are still opening up, but I couldn't help myself because I saw all the sell highs and I'm like, oh, here's a gamma level, right? And I held it. And then there was a number at 845 and you see what happens. So the point is I should have never put this ES trade on into the open. And then I held it into the number and I took a loss on it. So that's what I deserved. So then on this one, so this is just like, rookie trading 101. On this one, I got in, I took the sexy short buy stops into the gamma wall, and it kind of started doing this, and I knew the next number was coming out, and I'm like, I already took a loss in the S doing that, I'm going to get out, and then I got out of that one, and that one worked, right? So the point is, if you're going to take them all, then you take them all, but you should not be taking them into numbers, and that's the lesson here, right? And then I'm going to give you some other examples when you don't want to be taking these sexy gexies. But most of the time, again, 85% of the time, it's just algos and the dealers in here, and they work incredible, right? Your win percentage is incredible. All right, so we are. I was hoping to get one more stop run into this gex level. So I won't take this sexy gexy. I have seen these, and this is still a trade in progress, right? So it's like, okay, here's the volume event, but the gex level's here. Should I go long down here and still risk there, or do I need to see the event right into them? And I'm going to show you many examples. Right now, I'm demanding the event is pretty much into the level, right? So this is too far away for me to take. Doesn't mean it won't hold. And you can see this is why I was hoping there was an event here. This thing bounced right off these gex levels. So we have a trade for this too. This one didn't qualify, but it's called the back in black, right? So I still may be able to do this on this event, right? So once again, because we know the dealers are hedging at these areas. Let's see if we got another one below here. Not to way down here. So the back in black is, and I'm going to show you examples like I said. So you get a volume event. So say the thing blows right through these levels, right? So we just talked about the reversion trade, the ridiculous propensity for these things to bounce off these ATRs and come back to the volume event, right? It's just these algos snap it back here. So the back in black is waiting for a gex level, right? Or I have other important levels, but gex levels for this webinar is, they're very important, like we're talking about, right? So you wait for, you're going to get a dealer reaction there, and I already know the propensity to come back to the zone. So it's like you're getting added help for the rebound back to the zone, right? So I wait for a tag of these important areas, and then as it comes back, I'll take the 3, the 2, the 1 ATR back to the zone. So let me just show you some examples here. And if you got any questions, or there's any questions coming in, let me know. Fabio, I can't see them.
There's only a Bookmap question at the moment. It's about, hey Scott, is it possible to get Bookmap to generate alerts a bit like TradingView webhooks?
I don't know what webhooks are, and that's probably a question for Bookmap support. I'm not sure. I mean, you can put alerts in here, so I hadn't you open up a cloud note category or column, and you had so that I do this a lot too to make sure I know when it hits these levels, and hopefully price lines. And I'm going to show you how to get this. Might as well do that first before I show you the rest of the stuff. So to get this add-on, right? My add-ons on here as well. So you can see here. So this is the Scott zones. If you want the zone drawing tool, which is incredible. I gotta find out who's texting me here. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. So anyway, this is my add-on for it's in the Bookmap marketplace for that's what the zone drawing tool is, right? To get these things drawn. I used to draw these by hands for about 7 years, and it's very tedious. Then I have a spreadsheet where I would enter the zone price and the ATR. That's this guy. Still have it in case the zone drawing tool goes down. But the zone drawing tool takes care of all that. So this is the spreadsheet. So this spreadsheet is the zone drawing tool. And you can see this was like last week when the ATR was 49, right? So that's what I was pointing out earlier. Be careful that's why you want to pay attention to ATR. Anyway, to get this add-on, the price lines so you can get the MenthorQ levels for these other. So this is on TradingView, right? I got the Dow on here, the YM, because I can't get it to load on Bookmap for some reason. I got to check with the developers what the issue is, but you can get them on other platforms. I'm sure you guys are aware, right? You can get them for TradingView, NinjaTrader, and there's many other ones. If you want them on the heat map, which I do, right? Because I'm taking these trades. All right, so I'm going to try to take this right here. All right, so I'm only putting on one because this is actually this is copying to a live account too. Because I've got I'm using this Apex stuff too. So this is a live account, or else I would trade bigger here. So I jumped in right at these levels. This is what I was waiting to see. This is another thing that's still a work in progress, right? So it already did bounce off of this level, right? So it's like, is it still valid into this level? I'm okay taking this, but there's times you want to be careful when the market's trading like this up and through it, and then you get the volume events. Like, well, is that still valid? I think it is, because these volume events are in their own right. They're the core of my trading, right? So I'm willing to still take this, even if it does this like it just basically just did. So anyway, stop run right there, sell stops into two GEX levels. I jumped in right in the middle of the zone. Again, my traditional entry is waiting for this to move all the way out of here. With this trade, I usually put on 2 at least, or multiple contracts. And the method is you're looking for the dealer reaction. So I will get out right in front of an ATR, right? And then I will hold another portion for a bigger move, because I do have a volume event, and that's the core of my position trading, right? So it's like I'm getting the best of both worlds. I'm trying to get a quick reaction for all you scalpers out there that love to scalp. I'm looking for the quick reaction. Let me get this in too, by the way, so in case it does have a quick reaction. Put this sell order in here. All right, and I got to get myself stop in. So this is where I stop out of this trade, right? So I jumped in right in the middle of this guy. And then also the other thing too. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so yeah, I have a question if people have no other questions about this. You're showing us the MenthorQ gamma levels and the blind spots. Was there something what you're observing and can give the people basically what is on your experience the biggest mistake what people can do when they trade the levels? And is there something what you say, hey man, this is really exciting, like your sexy Gexy strategy, where you highly recommend, not as financial advice, only as education and what you're observing based on your experience?
So you're asking what, like warning signs or
yes,
why they wouldn't work type of thing? Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I was getting at before. So you want to be very careful, trading these things into numbers, because again, when big money needs to come in here, yes, the dealers are going to be reacting at these levels, but it could just rip right through here. And I just showed you that example in ES a little bit ago, right? I traded that. I traded it into the open, and you pretty much don't want to do that. And then I held this into the number, and I got whipsawed out of the trade, right? So this was me into the open. It came up. I got sell ice into this level, and then I took it, and then I held it into the number and swiped out of the trade. So it's like, that's one way. Obviously, you don't want to be trading during numbers. The other thing that's going on right now is Putin and Trump are speaking, right? So I'm trading these while these guys are talking. They are obviously market moving entities. Yesterday was a great example. Like every time Trump said something, the market ripped. He said something about crude. It got absolutely killed, like 12 times normal volume came in there, right? Those are the times you want to be careful. So I'm willing to take this trade while they're talking right now. And I gotta take my medicine if I'm wrong, just like I took my medicine in the ES today, right? So that is one thing. Make sure you know where these numbers are, whether someone's talking like Fed speak, numbers, and Trump talking. The other thing you want to watch out for is relative volume. Relative volume is a great gauge of if the big money is playing, right? So when you start to see, here, I turned off my this is my other computer where I have my Sierra chart with my relative volume. So I'm using a relative volume chart that shows me this exact time period. This out of here. So this is showing you, so you can see overnight, like it lights up yellow. So this is showing, this relative volume chart is not the same as like Thinkorswim, right? So it's not the same as this guy, right? I don't use Thinkorswim because this relative volume, should I even have it up? Yeah, I have it up. Hold on. Let's just see if we have a quick trade here. Again, I'm watching 15 markets, so there's always something firing off. I don't think I brought the gecko. So this is a good example.
Cool.
What'd you say?
Everything is cool. So I fully understand if you be in the market. So that's first.
Right. I'll go over the relative volume here in a second. So this is a good example on how to bring these in. So I'm going to show you how to load them into Bookmap. Once you have them in here, you got to do this. This is the one thing. Hopefully they'll change this price lines where it automatically update. You got to go in here every morning, hit the MenthorQ integration, hit and make sure your API key's in there and hit update levels, and then they'll populate, right? So let's see here. So like this I would not take, right? So this is important. This is a great example. So if this was a bullish event into here, it doesn't mean they're not going to work, but you can see, yeah, dealers are hedging, and I already did the first time it came down to this HVL, right? You can see the buy-in right there. I will promise you some of that is dealer reaction. Now it came down and you have sell ice, right? So I would not take Sexy Gexy off of this iceberg event because the big money is selling right here. So yeah, dealers are hedging this way, but big money's trying to sell. It doesn't mean it can't go that way. You know, paper's wrong all the time too. We actually have, I name these events that would be called a broken ice event. They're very technical terms. I'm just kidding. But the point is, this is not a Sexy Gexy. I want to see into these levels, and that's what I showed you guys at the beginning of the webinar, the descriptions of this trade, right? This is, I want to see buy stop run in this, or sell icebergs moving higher, or sell stop runs or buy icebergs moving into support, right? So I would gladly take this right now. That's why I came over here. If it was a sell stop run, we just talked about, it's called the Dumb and Dumber. That's a dumb money puke. I would take that in a second. Or if I saw buy ice here, right? This is sell ice. So you got the big money fighting the dealers. There's no trade for me for this trade, right? So I just wanted to show that quickly. But well, there's going to be many, many more. So what I was talking about with the relative volume, Thinkorswim, I do not use. It's just showing the last. This relative volume is showing you the last 60 bars. So it's basing it like the open's always going to be elevated volume because it's based on off of overnight trade. So I use a Sierra chart relative volume, and this thing still hasn't. So this is. See, this is a little tricky as far as my exit here. I want to get out here, but you see, this is why these volume events are so important, right? So it tried to rip out of here, and it bounced right off a prior volume event. We actually have, this is called an A+ reversion. We'll get some of these. This one was not, but the whole thinking behind it is there's traders this is why we draw these. This is a concentrated area. So when traders, whoever bought here, that got run over and it moved lower, when it comes back, they're like, oh, God, thank God, let me out, right? And you get that reaction. So I put this on. 1, Trump and Putin are talking. 2, I could have been get out at this prior event. You know, that's not my rules for this trade, but you just want to be careful if there's a prior event right in front of your exit, right? Because you're going to get a reaction. Doesn't mean it can't come back up here, but I may lose on this trade now. So I should have been wary of that when I was talking about it, but whatever, the trade's on. If it loses on the next trade. Because this is what an edge is, right? When you have an edge, in any kind of trading edge, you're going to have losers, right? The whole point of it, and you know, I go on this rant every day with my trade room. The whole point of it is you have an edge. What was that? Where's that coming? Hold on. Sorry about that. I had the YouTube up. That threw me off there. You still with me, Fabio? No, I can't hear you. I can hear Patrick. I can't hear Fabio.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was like, what was that? All right. Anyway, what I was getting at is, you know, guys, when you're trading, if you have an edge, you just keep putting the trade on, right? So I haven't been stopped out of this thing yet, but I know from my trading experience and trading so many of these that it's the best edge I've ever seen with these volume events, right? But this is straight out of trading in the zone, right? So you've got to understand these 5 truths. Anything can happen. Like I'm in a trade, Trump and Putin are talking. They may say something that's contrary to my position. Sucks for me. Anything can happen. You don't need to know, or do you know what's going to happen next in order to make money? Meaning if you have an edge, you just keep putting it. You don't know, like I don't know if this area is going to hold, right? I don't know if these dealers are going to win here, right? So but I do know there's pretty much no better edge in trading than understanding the volume events and understanding where dealers are hedging. I mean, that's the best edge that I've seen, right? And I've been watching these markets for 25 years, so you may want to listen to me. If not, you can figure it out yourself, but you're going to probably come to the same conclusion. So this still might work. Again, this is why I put my stop where I put my stop, right? So I got in smack dab in the middle of the zone. My stop's way out here. Why do I do that? Because I try to avoid these algos giving me the screw job when I'm in my trade. They're here to take your money. So whoever took this trade, and this is not none of my webinars are to mirror my trades, right? It's to learn how to do this for yourself. But I can guarantee you someone jumped in this trade with me, and I guarantee you somebody panicked out of that trade, right? This is why I force the market. If I'm going to be wrong here, I force the market to push outside of an ATR, because I just know, look at this Christmas tree. These are algos effing with everybody, right? So that's what I demand for me to be wrong. And I'm wrong all the time with my trades, but I'm right more than I'm wrong. That's what an edge is. That's what I was getting at with that trading in the zone document, right? So
and as we can see, you don't touch your stop loss. Yeah, you let it where it is. So
right, exactly. I do not. And that's another thing. I don't trail my stop in position trading. I'll trail my stop based on a new event happening. That's the other thing too here is, if a new event comes in, I'll probably get out of this trade, because these are so powerful. I'll probably get out, but there's been no new event. It didn't get down to my stop. My stop sits here. Here's my exit for this trade. Again, I usually have two on or multiple position where I'm looking for the dealer reaction, and this is taking quite a while. So, you did get a reaction, but it just didn't get to my target, and that I'll sit in this trade. But I'll get out of one there, and then I'll let one ride. So we'll see what happens here. But again, what I was getting at is, when you have an edge, then you just keep putting. This is so important. You have to internalize this stuff. There's a random distribution between wins and losses for any given set of variables that define an edge. And then an edge is nothing more than an indication of a higher probability of one they happen over another. And every moment in the market is unique, meaning I don't care how many times you see a pattern, every moment in the market is unique, right? So I know this is, and again, I'll show you, what do we have here for my examples? Like, let's see here.
Scott, is your ATR indicator part of your indicator?
Yeah. So both, so I keep jumping around here. So I do better if I'm not watching the market anyway. I always joke with my trader when there's a camera in my office, and it won't go to where I want it to go unless I don't look at it. So it's better that I show you this stuff now anyway. So this is my zone drawing tool, and then we'll go over the price lines thing. So you got basic or pro. So basic gives you the ATR. It gives you the zone, obviously, in the ATR and the position sizing stuff. The pro is what gives you, that doesn't change on here, but that's what gives you the ATR reversion lines and everything else. And that's what you're going to want if you want to do the back and black trade. And hopefully we'll take some of these here. I'm still waiting for this. So again, I have the sexy Gexy on, but say this rips up, I can potentially take the back and blacks back to the zone as well. And I can take them this way too. So we'll see what happens here. But the point is, if you get the pro version, this gives you the ATR lines. Let's see, did he say yes or is he yes? No, nothing happening in yes right now. So I am missing things here in crude. Again, I'm trying to get to this other stuff. Right, so this is just kind of whipping through these Gex levels. So there's nothing here, right? So there's nothing for the sexy Gexy, I'm saying. I could have possibly taken back and blacks here. Again, back in black. Let me just show you here real quick. I know I'm bouncing all over the place, guys, but I'm trying to trade live and explain this stuff. So the back in black, here's some examples. All right, so we kind of went over sexy Gexy. These are from recent things, right? So the back in black is you get your volume event, and you play these dealers' reactions off of these Gex levels, and then you take the ATRs coming back to the zone, and you're out of the zone. So this reversion trade is, I cannot tell you how many. You can ask anyone in my trade room. It happens non-stop. There are traders, that's all they're trading are these we call them reversion trades, because for some reason these algos will push this market back to this volume event, right? So now we already know that happens on its own. Now you get to use Gex levels as a catalyst to propel it back to the zone. So it's an incredible trade. So this one was, I forgot what date that was. This was January 6th. This was Russell, RTY. So Tagged the X4. I took the 3, the 2, the 1 back at the zone. So these are all actual trades, obviously. I put in my trade room. Here's another one. So this was both a sexy Gexy and a back in black. I mean, how awesome is that, right? So it's like there's something always firing off. This is NQ. Came down. Here you go. This is kind of what I just took, right? A sell stop run into the put support. Got in right there. I wrote it out. I got a half there, and then it came up here, and I can't remember where I got out of that other half of it. But the point is, then you had another trade here. It bounced off, put support. So again, I'm getting this dealer reaction, and then I already know the propensity to come back to this zone. The 3, the 2, the 1, back to the zone, out. This one, actually, the 1 popped back up and I got stopped out, but that was my fault. I put the stop in the wrong spot. That's what these lines are. You got to put them in the right spot. So regardless, the point is it came back to the zone. It bounced off the GEX level. So there's a way to use these GEX levels blindly. And I know a lot of you guys are there's traders in my trade rooms that are trading these blindly, meaning they're not demanding a volume event. I demand a volume event because I've never seen anything more powerful. But the point is, even if you took these, it did work, but you pay attention to these volume events and like, okay, I'm going to get out when it hits this type of thing, right? So that one worked. They almost every one of them works, right? So again, this one moved a little through here. So that, again, this is still, both these are pretty much new trades that we've been doing for a few months. And there may be, I don't like to see it pushed through that far, but this was something else for my inflection zones where I was willing to take this back. But that's a good example, right back to the zone. That's why I got that little dollar sign there. And then let's see, a couple more. This one, here we go. This was the 2. This was, what was this? I think this is NG. So guys, it doesn't matter what market you're trading. That's why I love MenthorQ too. So there's other options, obviously options companies out there that have this kind of information. MenthorQ's got them, but they're mainly for stocks and equity futures. MenthorQ got them for everything, for almost every futures product. And that's right up my alley, right? Like that's what I want. So you can see here, like here's gold. There hasn't been an event here today, but this explains so much. Even if you're not trading, if you're just watching these markets, you understand many times why they're rotating, right? Like this came down here, clicked off the GEX 5, clicked off the GEX 6 coming back. So at least even if you're not trading, or if you're in a trade, you're understanding why the market is doing what it's doing many, many times, right? Because these dealers have to hedge at these levels. So anyway, quickly, this was back in black off of so you had sell. This actually was a sexy. This is another one. Do you see so many of these are both trades, right? So the sexy Gexy, the market came into the gamma wall. I got sell ice. So not only do I know the dealers are going to react in there, now I know the big money's selling here too. That's pretty important to know. In a very, very powerful area. What did it do? Failed. And then it clicked off this gamma level. What was this here? I don't think I have it listed. You can't see. I think I put this right on top of it. Regardless, it's still a gamma level. Bounced off, and I took the 2 was right here. I took the 2 and the 1 back to the zone. So 2 different trades there, sexy back in black. So that's all I'm doing with those trades. Any questions?
Scott, maybe like if I can jump in a second. Like you mentioned that obviously you cover different markets. I think it might be very useful for the audience to go over our coverage, because not only we cover stocks, ETFs, and indices, which is obviously very important, but we are also, I believe, one of the only company that is actually providing gamma levels on futures. So if you go here within our product, we have, let me see if I can find the coverage. We have an extensive, so we cover basically the index futures, so Russell, S&P, NASDAQ. We cover crude oil, natural gas. We cover gold, silver, platinum, copper. We cover the fixed income. So for those who are trading rates, we cover that. We also cover Forex. And on Monday, we're going to have a live session on Forex, trading with MenthorQ. We have soft commodities like soybean, corn, wheat, and we also cover crypto. So we also have the Bitcoin, crypto futures. So there's a lot of like value that you can get from the levels by looking at all these markets, on top of all the obviously stocks, ETFs, and indices that we cover as well.
Right. Yeah. That's why I love it. I'm sorry.
But also, Fabio, we have also the blind spots here on the major futures. Yeah. So we have this on on gold, we have this on crude oil, we have this on Russell, we have this on Dow Jones. So Dow Jones, there is why we don't cover Dow Jones, Fabi, because that's some question what people most have, and maybe this is also a good point to to give them the reason why we not have Dow Jones futures.
Yeah, so YM, the Dow Jones futures, they don't have any options activity. So if you're looking at pure gamma levels, there's no option activity on YM. And I think it's due because the strike price are so high that the options would be very expensive. So there's not really any activity on the option side, and maybe also the liquidity of the contract. So a lot of the question we get the most is like, how can I get gamma levels on Dow Jones? And the answer is there's no option data on Dow Jones, but what we do have is our blind spot level indicator that you can also get on Bookmap directly via API, where you can actually plot those kind of like support and resistance area that are derived from correlated assets from the option market. So even though YM does not have direct options, we can actually still have accurate blind spot levels for that future. And we can do the same thing for all the other futures as well.
Yes. And we cover really the most important one here. Like, as I said, we have crude, we have gold, we have Russell, we have S&P, we have Dow, and we have the NASDAQ.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have crude. I mean, you have copper, you have silver. I mean, you got wheat, soybeans, right? So, like, I mean, this is why I love this, because, you know, most other companies out there don't have all these different futures products. And again, the more obscure the market, the more that I've noticed, the more the more that these options dealers are affecting the trade, what's going on in the market, right? There's not a bunch of participants in there, so the options dealers are running the show, right? And they're not even trying to run the show, but you'll see these markets react a lot even better in these obscure markets, right? Let's see. So this one right here.
Scott, to give you a preview, we're also working on European futures. So hopefully soon we're also going to have DAX, Euro stocks, and all of that futures as well. So
that's actually the funny thing about that is that I actually traded DAX before in my life. That's when the light turned on for me as a trader, as a futures trader. So 2001, when I started with a trading firm, and back then there was no education. It was the markets had just started going to the screens, and I was I begged my buddy to get me in with this trading firm that just started with the screens. Like, everything was on the floor. I was actually working at the Chicago Board of Trade as an ARB clerk at the time. Begged him to get me a job. I started at this trading firm. I lost every single day for my first 2 months. I was about to get fired, like, within the first 2 months of being there. I did not have one winning day. And then 9/11 happened, and they shut down the U.S. markets for a week. And I was like, I've got to figure something out, or I'm going to get fired here. So I started trading the DAX overnight in the overnight session. And that's how I learned some of the games and stuff. And then when the markets opened back up, I started to apply what I learned in the DAX to the mini S&P. And then that's right when I took off as a trader. So that's pretty funny that you mentioned DAX. But I would definitely, I'm a little too old to get up and trade overnight. I used to literally go to my trading firm. I would get up at, because the European markets open at 1 a.m. Central. So I would go there. I trade from 1 till 3. That was when it was started to die down. I would go home, take a nap, and come back and trade the U.S. Yeah, I can't really do that anymore, but it's a little too old for that. But
Scott, a funny question. If you would be able to trade 24 hours, but what we definitely not, what would be your best time where you would choose? No matter, you can choose everything.
Well, the best time is between obviously equity open and once you get to 10:30 a.m. Central. I tell my room all the time, between 10:30 and 12:30 Central, I've lost millions and millions and millions of dollars over my career. I used to have to physically leave my office back when I was a big scalper because, I would say I wasn't going to trade at that time of day. And then you're sitting there staring at the screen and then, oh, this looks like a good trade. And then, and then I get blown out, trading at those time periods, because that time period is when the big money starts to go to lunch. You got New York that goes to lunch, and then you got Chicago, and then it talk about Algo City. And then that's when it's just whipsaw city. So that is the period not to be trading. But I'd say from the open till 10:30, And then obviously the afternoon is usually pretty good. For the last year, for some reason, the afternoon has just been horrific as far as, you know, actual good trade. Overnight, I haven't done it for a long time, but again, I used to, when I did it overnight, I would go in and I would trade from 1 a.m. till about 3:30 a.m. Central. And that's when that like the European starts to go to lunch type of thing. So, but you can trade. I mean, they're volume events. What I tell people for these volume events, you know, because we have thresholds for each market, what's an important amount that is trade worthy, and that's what these zones are drawn off of, right? So, for instance, NASDAQ, 150 contracts is a lot, right? So anytime this trades more than 150, like this last sell stop run, and there's a couple here, this is one big one, 221. So it'll draw the zone. If this was only a 20 lot stop run, and it'll show on here like these little guys, right? This was a 42 stop. It's not going to draw it. It's not trade worthy, right? So different markets have different thresholds. ES, for instance, it's 700 icebergs or 500 stops. Anything less than that, I don't even look at it, and it won't draw the zone either. Overnight, you can cut your size in half usually, right? So you just want to be cognizant. And I still haven't gotten to the relative volume stuff that I was showing you, but as long as the relative volume is normal, meaning when I say normal, it's like 100% or less, right? So for instance, like right now, the relative volume in here sucks, and that's why these markets are doing nothing. You see this right here. It's barely getting to 100%, meaning normal. And this is the exact time period of the day based on the last 30 days. It gives me a great indication when something bigger is happening, right? You can see ES is barely touching the 100% mark, meaning normal, and that's why the algos are whipsawing you to death. So what I'm saying is overnight, if you're going to trade these areas, and you can change this all in the zone drawing tool too, right? So I'll just quickly show this. I'm going to show you guys how to get the add-on again. Come over here and then hit Scott zones. And if you go to advanced, then you can see these thresholds, right? So you can change them. I would change them to half overnight as long as the relative volume isn't spiking. And then you can, those are tradable events. So of course here, I got out of this. I did it for a reason, right? So this is different. This doesn't happen that often as far as what we're seeing here. So I got in this long, this move below here. I got another event. I'm like, I'm just going to cover this thing. I basically scratched this trade from where I put it on. Now it's moving back out of here, but this was not a sexy Gexy anyway. So, usually when you get a new event, I default to the most recent event. This thing moved down through these, I'm looking for that first dealer reaction. They tried, it kept failing at this event. Then we got another stop run. So I just scratched a trade. Big deal. Now I'm waiting for my next opportunity here, but I did scratch that NASDAQ trade. And for those of you that are still in it, if you did take it, congratulations, because now it's going to rip off the page. But I didn't just do it because, so that's another thing too, guys. You've got to, and I saw a great post on Twitter the other day that I reposted. See if I can find it. And, I know that I try to go over this basic stuff because it's so important, right? So I don't trade what I feel. I got out of that trade, not because I felt like I was going to get stopped out, and that's where my stop was, right? There was a new event. It had finally pushed down through here. So it's like, I'm looking for daily reaction. Obviously I didn't get it, and I got a new event. So I just scratched the trade, right? But quickly, because this is so important, as post that I saw the other day. So this is my Twitter. Why does it? I don't know why that keeps going to YouTube. Anyway, guys, sorry. So this is so important here. Most traders never succeed because they trade without a quantified system. I'm showing you my system. It's the best system that I've ever seen in my 25 years of trading the SI events, especially with the GEX levels from MenthorQ, right? They trade too big, and that's another thing the zone drawing tool gives you. You plug in your risk, and it'll tell you the exact size based on what you want to risk per trade. They trade based on their emotions, egos, and predictions, not prices. So this is what I was getting at, right? So many traders will put on a trade and then they feel like they're going to lose, and then they hop out of the trade. So I did hop out of this trade, but this is a long explanation of I did it for a reason. I didn't just do it because the market was moving against me. So that is just so important that if you do have a system, and this is what I'm showing you my system, you just follow the rules. Like, it's going to whipsaw almost every time. You're going to be tortured, but you just follow your rules. I did get out of this one because of a new event. So that's what I want to show you. All right, quickly. Well, nothing's going on right now. So I'm going to just show you this quickly. So to get this, I showed you the zone drawing tool. That's right here on the marketplace. And then if you want to get the price lines, you go in here, and it's not on the front page. So just type in the price lines. This is to get the actual MenthorQ levels on Bookmap. So you got it right here, right? And then you get this. So it gets a little. You got to. There's a new version now, but if you have the prior version, you got to update it. And you guys, MenthorQ sent out an email yesterday, said today's the last day. You got to upgrade or download the newest one. So the way you download it, it's not as clear, right? You go into your account, and then you hit active subscriptions, and then come over here and then hit download, and then you got to bring it in again, right? So you got to remove this one. You go over here, uncheck all the rest of these, keep this checked, and hit remove, and then you hit add, and then it'll pop up like this, and so you can see this newest Scott Zones. Here's the price line. So just bring in I think this is the most recent version. Then you got to bring it again, and then click it, and then you'll have the new one. So you got to do that as of today. Am I right, Fabio?
Yeah, we are. It's just because there's an update on the API. So if you're still using the old one, then maybe next week it won't work. So you need to just set up the new one. So it takes like literally 30 seconds, I think.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's very quick, but you got to get the new one. Okay, so I'm out of the sexy Gexies, but there's still trades to be had here potentially, right? I can watch for a back in black. We just went over these. So if this market does rip, and I'm sure it probably will, because that's all it ever does. If it comes up here, tags this, I'm going to take the 3. This is the 2 and the 1. I'm sorry, this is the 3. So if this, again, I got to get all this in my head before it happens, right? I can't just be scrambling once this happens. So I know in my head, if this moves higher and tags the gamma wall, and I get the daily reaction, now I'm going to take my reversion trade, the back in black. I'm going to take the 3, the 2. I'm sorry. 3 is white right at this, but I would take it. There's a 3 up here, the 2, the 1, and I'd be out of the zone. So this is a great trade for scalpers. And most traders are scalpers because they can't stand sitting in these trades, right? I've conditioned myself. That's why I gravitated towards scalping when I first started trading, because I couldn't stand sitting in and watching this, especially when you have your P&L up and you're watching yourself make or lose your mortgage. And when I was a big trader, it was make or lose a house, literally, right? When you're thinking about it in real money terms, you don't make a decision. So first of all, I would turn off your P&L, right? But it's brutal to even just sit through this. So the back in black is the reversion trade is a great trade for those that just, want to get in and want to get out. So let's see if we can find some, because NASDAQ is horrific right now. Oh, by the way, this was a sexy Gexy in wheat. So this is my point, right? If you're just staring at NASDAQ and ES all day long, you're doing yourself a disservice with the MenthorQ levels and these iceberg events, because they happen in all these markets. And all we're looking at is volume and dealer reaction areas. It doesn't matter what market you're looking at, right? So here's wheat, comes down, sell stop into the gamma level, mouse off that gamma level too. I would have been out if I put this on. Of course I didn't, and it was an easy winner. I get out of 1 right in front of the 5-minute ATR because I'm looking for that daily reaction. Then I would have still be in this trade looking for the bigger move. And say I'm still in it, I would definitely be watching this next Gex level to get out of some. So these are some of my important areas where I'll get out of my position trades as well. So that was a sexy Gexy, worked great. The other thing I can take here too, if it does happen, and this is where you want to put you can put your alerts. Someone was asking about that. So if you have a cloud notes column, go over here, right click it, add note, enable notifications, hit OK. And then, so this is going to let me know when this tags us, so then I can take the back in black coming back to this puppy if that happens, right? That's that. There is some stuff firing off in CL. Let's see what we missed there.
Scott, do you give yourself also some shoots if a trade doesn't work? So for re-entry, so for example, if it on first time doesn't work, you will re-enter maybe 1 or 2 times again?
No, I do not re-enter. If I get stopped out, I get stopped out. Just because, the way I trade and what I've observed after watching tens of thousands of these over the last 7-8 years is when this market pushes out the ATR. So say I'm long, right? Say I got long this. If it's able to push the ATR out of here, and that's the stop. This is that yellow line. It's just outside of an ATR. The blue line is the ATR. If it's able to push the ATR out of there, I'm not getting back in the trade, right? So this is like rule of law for me. Like if it tags these ATRs and I get stopped out, I'm done. And the other thing is there's just another trade. There's another trade right around the corner. These events are fired, and I'm watching so many markets. There's very likely going to be another, especially in here, there's going to be another event, and then just right back and right back to the strategies, right? So no, I do not re-enter trades. You know, some traders do, I don't personally. So let's see what we got going on here.
And you were saying you're watching 15 markets. So what's your major markets? So the top 5.
Top 5: ES, NQ, crude, gold, probably Russell. I trade natural gas a lot too. I mean, you got to be a weathered trader to trade this market. Talk about whipsaw. I mean, this is one of the biggest algo markets out there, but the stuff works the same. And actually, this is let's look at March because it's already rolling. But I'd say the top 6 are, you know, the main equities: ES, Russell, NQ, and then natural gas, gold, and crude. But I mean, I trade, you know, I trade the wheat, and I'll just look at some of these. I mean, I guarantee you, there's trades all over the place here, right? How about this one? This one was pretty close to tagging that GEX10 back to the zone, back in black. Anything down here? Nothing there. This is silver. Let's check copper. This is a sexy Gexy right here. So it's like, guys, this is what I'm telling you. They're firing off in every market. And this is so beautiful about MenthorQ levels. You can get them for all these different markets. Here we go. Sell, stop, run right into the GEX2. So if I would have taken this, I would have been smack dab in the middle of the zone. This is my only auto entry trade where I'm getting in right when I hear the event, and I'm get out of half of them right there looking for the daily reaction. That's exactly what you got. And then I'd have half on. So we just saw this. I showed you in wheat. I showed you in copper. So it's like, guys, just for some reason, so many traders are hell-bent on trading the ES, like just sitting here, you know, for the last 3 days. There has not been, up until today, this was, you know, right at the open, there's only been one event in the ES, and it's been at the end of the day. It's like, so if you're just staring at the ES and you're using this stuff, you had no opportunities in there. So stop staring at this crappy market and open your horizons, because you're costing yourself opportunity, right? Again, I showed you obscure copper, wheat. Wheat's not obscure, but there you go. Sexy Gexy there. Anything in YM today?
And Scott, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So you've been using probably MenthorQ for about 3 months now. Like, how would you say, like, your strategy? Obviously, you didn't really change the way you trade, but like, how has it helped you improve kind of like your entry and exit point together with what you're already using, of course, with your own system?
Right. Well, I mean, for the Sexy Gexy, it's been incredible because I didn't have any. I take that back. I have one auto entry trade where I'll get in. So these are the auto fake trades, right? Where I'll get in smack dab when I hear a volume event, right in the middle of the volume event, right? Because other than that, again, this is from my experience of watching thousands of these. You can listen to me, or you can replay days and figure it out for yourself. But I don't know what these, for my traditional position trading strategies, I don't know whether this is a bullish or bearish event when it fires off. Yes, it's a dumb and dumber. It's a dumb money puke, the retail trader puke. Again, I'm a retail trader too. Don't get offended. But yes, the propensity is for this to react this way. But I don't know, or do the opposite than the stop run. But I don't know what this is until it can push an ATR out. That's how I gauge whether this is a bullish or bearish event. And it's incredible how accurate that is. So almost every one of my trades, I force this to get the ATR out of here. And then I force to move outside of an ATR because I know the propensity for these algos to snap it back at an ATR. This is where I'd be getting in for most of my trades. Well, the Sexy Gexy, these Gex level trades, I get in, and you saw this one, I get in right in the middle of the zone. And I have confidence in that because, again, I know the volume event is there, and then I know these dealers are going to be hedging at these areas. Again, does it do that? Do the dealers win every time? No. There's other players in here, right? The options dealers are just one player. They are a major player, and most of the time, them and the algos, the only guys in here, only traders in here, or only entities in here that are running the show. So I know if I take enough of these, I already showed you, like I got out of this one, but I already showed you the winner in wheat, winner in copper. But yeah, since I've been introduced to these, I only had one other trading strategy where I got in right smack dab in the middle of the zone. Otherwise, I forced the market to move an ATR out of here to confirm for me. And yes, that I'm fully aware of that erodes your risk reward, your R, right? So for you R traders that roll your eyes on my webinar, I'm like, oh my God, you're waiting to get in there and your stop's way down here. Well, I do that for a reason, right, for almost all my strategies, so I don't get algoed out of the trade. And I want to see this push out the ATR because it basically shows its hand. With the Sexy Gexy, I'm willing to jump in right smack dab in the middle of the zone, and I've never done that up until now. So yeah, and then the back in black again. I know it's gonna, if I already know that these algos hit this one right here, right? This wasn't a back in black. Here's your one ATR. Tag the one ATR back to the zone. I already know that happens on its own. Now I'm using these dealer activity and propelling it back. So I got that help, and then I already know the algo snap it back. These are just two incredible trades off of your levels. Like it's just, I tell my trade room, I told them like right when I was telling you the story of when I first started learning how to trade, and I was trading the German DAX. Like once I figured it out, it clicked overnight, and I started making money every day in ES, like with the stuff I learned trading the European markets. I was like a kid on Christmas Eve, like every night going to bed, like I could not wait to get up to make money in the markets, right? And I've been telling my trade room for the last 3 months, like this is the same feeling I had when I started making money. Yeah, I mean, what I'm doing has an edge, but this stuff is unbelievable at these areas because it's just common sense. You get volume events and you get areas where the dealers are going to be, hedging their positions, and you're going to get market reaction there. So it's, MenthorQ is, and I got to thank Jordan because Jordan's a trader in my trade room, and he introduced me to Fabio. Thank God, because this trade is absolutely incredible. So that's a long answer to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think we are about time. So let's see if we got a few minutes for some questions.
Okay.
Scott, I really thank you as always. This is very awesome because you're showing real life example on not only how to use Bookmap, but also how to use it in conjunction with our data, which is now integrated via API direct into the platform. So you actually don't have to do anything, just update the levels every morning and the data is there for the day and you can leverage it and apply it. So for those who are interested, you guys can come to our website and you can try our service for free for 7 days, and you have access to all the integration that we showed you. So you'll get access to all our product, our dashboard, and also the integration. I'm just going to share it again. Once you create an account, you can access your account dashboard. You have access to our data dashboard right here, where you can get all the levels, all the data, all the models on stocks, ETFs, indices. So it's all available for you right here. And then you can also then integrate the data directly into the application that you use, whether it's Bookmap, whether it's any of the other platforms. We have about 8+ different integrations. So from Sierra, Bookmap, Atas, NinjaTrader, Quantower, Thinkorswim, and so on. So there's a lot there, and all the data can be integrated directly into the platform. I don't know if Patrick or Scott, you have anything to add that you want to share with our...
I will add something. And you mentioned Jordan, and I would say a big shout out to Jordan, Scott, that he was bringing us together in contact. So yeah, shout out goes to you, my friend.
Yeah, Jordan, absolutely. I got one question for my trade room. Can you ask Fabio if they have Charm and Vanna data? Interested to see if Charm pin occurs in commodities options. Do you have that data? Again, I'm not an options guy.
We are developing a Charm and Vanna model, not yet, but we are working on it over the next few months. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, again, so there's a point, right? Like I'm becoming more proficient in options activity, but you don't really need to be, you don't need to know all the ins and outs like the Charm and Vanna and everything else. Like you need to know these levels, know the dealers are reacting at these levels, and take advantage of it. That's basically what you need to know, right? The simpler you can make your trading, the better you're going to do. I've said it from day one. And again, I'm living proof, right? Like I used to just stare at the trading dome, depth the market all day long and flip orders. That's all I did and made millions doing it. And you can't get simpler doing that than doing that, right? So keep your trading simple. Again, you can dive down the rabbit hole as much as you want for bigger picture stuff. But if you're day trading, you don't need much more, in my opinion, than knowing these GEX levels, knowing when these stop iceberg events occur, and you have yourself the best edge that I've seen in my trading career.
Yeah, and absolutely. And if you guys want to learn more about any of this stuff, feel free to reach out to us at info@mentorq.com. And I think your website, Scott, is scottpulcini.com, right?
Scott Pulcini Trade.
Scott directly there. And again, Scott, really thank you for this. This has been awesome. And we hope to have you again soon. And again, thank you, Patrick, as always.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I would say also thank you for all who listen to us. Yeah. So thank you for your time that you spend 1 hour with us. And yeah, thank you, Scott. Thank you, Fabio, for doing this with us. And happy weekend.
Yeah,
happy weekend, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.